I wanted to have this interview because your story is one of the most remarkable, in fact, in this context, the most remarkable story that I know of. And to me, it's in line with Mark 11, 22, 23, 24. It's in line. There's another one to talk about where Jesus said you can pick up a tree and tell it to go someplace. And so I'll tell us what happened, walk us through, and I'll put the pictures in the video a little later. But tell us what happened. You got the storm, you know it's coming. Take me through when you decided, how you decided to stay 250 feet from the ocean, and what happened.
Yeah, so let me just preface this first. I am a regular guy. So anybody that would ever see this video, I am not a Michael Pink or a Rick Osborne. I am a very regular, go to work every day, got a wife, kids, normal guy. So it's not like I am not some biblical superhero. I'm not, my biblical IQ is not real high. I'm a regular person, right? So hopefully anybody that sees this in the future has a little bit of hope for themselves because, like, I feel like if I lived in Jesus' time, he would have liked me, right? He picked the 12 and like, that is the lowliest of men. That guy I can work with, well, that's me. Anyway. So the days leading up, I have this business, obviously, where we make kombucha. So I have employees to think of. They have families. I have a family, all this. I've been through Irma, which kind of missed us as well. And I've been through some other storms.
Right.
But for 2 days prior to that storm, I really just went to my father and got quiet. And I just asked, okay, there's a hurricane coming. They're talking. This is still, and it's down by Cuba. It's going to be big. It's going to come up to Florida, whatever. Are we supposed to leave? The Holy Spirit of the living God dwells within me. He is renewing my mind. He is circumcising my heart. This is happening. I can feel transformation in this. And I'm like, okay, God, tell me. If you wanted to take me off this earth, if it was my time and you want to take me home, hallelujah. But you didn't need a storm. Like, I didn't need to wake up today, right? But I woke up today. And today is the day, right? I am here to walk in the purpose that you put in front of me. Am I supposed to stay in front of this or am I supposed to go? And I felt like I think I should stay here. My prayers just happened to be over the last few months. I've just been really about, I will stand firm in the foundation of Jesus Christ. I am immovable. It is no longer I that live, but Christ that lives in me. I am here and I'm not going to run away. I'm not going to, I have put that flesh to death. I am no longer of that person. I am a new creation and you're in me. So I feel humble in Eric. I feel bold in Christ. That's where I feel.
Yeah.
I could just hear loud noises up there, but it was so loud and windy out, you couldn't really hear anything very distinctive. But I could hear them smashing on the roof. Like, it's a metal roof and you could just hear, boom, boom, and it's just, oh my gosh, here it is.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, Michael, I sat there in that bunker in the stairwell with my kids and my wife, and we just were in like a little circle and we just prayed and we just went to him. There was no fear. There was no panic. That's how I know it wasn't me. It's not me. It's him. Because there's no way you're going to stand there in the face of that and not be, peeing in your pants.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't. I had no, and my kids are there with me. And I'm just like, no, he's got me. He's here. I knew he was there. I knew it. I don't even know how to tell you I knew it, but I knew it. I knew he was there. So we prayed. It was awesome. Honestly, it was one of the best family experiences we've probably ever had. And my kids will remember that the rest of their life. I mean, amazing. It's better than Disney, that's for sure. It's what the memories are made.
Real. The sound effects.
Yeah, it was awesome. So anyway, eventually it kind of calmed down that night. The wind died down less. I would come up and look, and we didn't lose a window. We didn't lose a roof. We didn't lose anything. It was pretty great. But I could see all these trees on the one side of my house.
You didn't venture outside until daylight. Is that right?
Right. Yeah, because it was dark when it started calming down. Like it was,
Yeah.
midnight or after. Yeah.
The next day when day breaks, you go outside to survey. And the
Right.
thing that you sent me, and I'm going to share this picture when I do the editing of it, but describe what you saw leaning against your house.
There's just trees every which direction, and 4 of them just came onto my house. And then there's other trees, so you can't even really get to those trees that are down. There's 8 trees total that I ended up cutting down.
But there were 4 that were leaned up against your house.
Right.
Right? And they were like 7-foot trees.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're probably about 70 feet. They were fully mature. They were tall. Yeah.
And their base before the storm, if I understand correctly, was like 42 feet from your house.
Right.
And so you come out in the morning and those trees they're not tilted. If I understand this correctly, they're laying down on your roof, basically, like the top, they're leaning against it. They've been knocked down against your house. Is that?
Yeah. So the edge of my roof is like 35 feet high. So they're a little bit more than a 45. But my friend used to work in tree service, so he did this for a living. So he's like, "Hey, let me help you," because I said, "Hey, I've got some real problems over here." So he came over, and I've got a chainsaw. He's got a chainsaw, and we were looking at the root ball because when you cut trees and they're leaned over, it's a thing that if you cut off a tree, those other trees can come flying up. It's very dangerous. But there is no root ball to these trees, really, because when you look underneath, and I think I have pictures of this, it's just sand underneath.
Right.
I mean, Siesta Key is a beach. It's just sand. So there's like a foot of, soil or roots or whatever, and then underneath it's just sand. It looks like a sandbar. So there's no good root system to hold those trees. That's why they always fall over in storms. And when this whole story's done, and the trees move, whatever, he comes out the next day, the second day, and I said, "Hey, those trees are standing or whatever." And he says to me, he goes, "That's not possible. That couldn't happen." Or whatever. I said, "No, that happened." Because,
hang up a little bit.
Sure.
Back up a little bit. For the people watching this, they don't know the story. So
Sure.
You had 4 trees against your house, and you get up on the next day, and you get on your roof. It's slanted. You got a chainsaw. What did you do?
Well, the first thing I did, there was one tree that I could get to easily, and I could drop it down next to my house without hurting the house anymore, which left 3. So there's 3 left on my house. This is now Thursday late in the day. So the last thing I did is I went up on my roof, and with the chainsaw, I'm trying to trim off all the possible trees, all the branches that I can, because I knew the next day I would have to cut those trees where it meets the roof and let them fall slowly onto my roof. There's no way to get them up and off of my roof.
Right.
And there was so much tree hanging out over my roof that A, it's going to damage your roof when it falls. B, it's super dangerous because you're up there with a chainsaw 35 feet in the air, the roof's slanted, and there's just branches. That's why I was trying to clean it up and so we can make it easier the next day. And at some point I was up there for probably 30, 45 minutes, just trimming branches off, throwing them off the edge. And finally I just got that feeling like, you know what, this is enough. This is dangerous. I'm going to end up falling off up here, and I'm wheeling a chainsaw around and,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's enough. I'm going to start over tomorrow. I've been at this for 14 hours now. I'm going to go get some sleep. I'm exhausted. I don't cut trees for a living. I'm tired. So that was it. I ended the day with the 3 trees laying on my roof. My friend had left before I ever went trimming up top. And then he was going to come back the next day. And the 2 of us were going to just basically contemplate, how are we going to get these 3 trees off the roof?
Right. So what happened? You prayed.
So, yeah, I was just really tired. I was exhausted. We didn't have power or water or, anything. So when it gets dark, go to bed. And like I normally do, I'll just, go to my Father, say a prayer, thank you for today. If it's your will, can't wait for tomorrow, whatever you have in store for me. I said, Father, I really need you to lift these trees back up and get them off the roof.
Now you trimmed some of those 3. When you trimmed them, they did not go up, correct? They were still laying on your roof. I mean, they were down.
Yeah, and there's no wind. There's no wind, and the trees are all laying there still. And the interesting thing, when I look back at this story, whatever, is I have no idea why I would ask such a thing. Why would I ask, hey, can you lift these trees, get them off the roof? I mean, I know in my mind, I'm like, how are we going to do this tomorrow? It seems super dangerous. And I don't know why I said it. I was exhausted and I was desperate, and I said it.
You say, will you stand them back up? Isn't that what you said?
Yep. Will you stand those trees back up and get them off the roof?
And because you were exhausted, 14 hours, hurricane fatigue, no power, no electricity, no air conditioning, no internet. You're worn out. It's hot and humid. You say, I've had enough. I don't want to fall off the roof. And in somewhat of a exhausted, humble, but somewhat desperate prayer, you just said, God, Father, will you please stand those trees up?
Yep. That's what I said.
I spent all day getting 1 and I got 3 more to go. And I've done all I can do. And so you got off the roof and you went to bed. You came in the house and went to bed eventually. Then you got up the next day, and tell me what happened then.
So I woke up in the morning and the sun was just coming up, and I walked, from my room to the other side of the house where the trees are laying, and looked out the window, and the trees aren't there, because they're all covering all the windows. Right. The trees aren't there, and I'm looking out. There's the 3 trees standing there, because I had cut down all the other trees out there. So those are the only 3 left. And they're just standing right in the middle of this big pile of trees.
Where they were before the storm.
As if they never fell. And in that moment, it just kind of hit me, because I'm like, whoa, Father, you just stood those trees up. That's what I just asked you. As if it happened a minute ago, because I just fell asleep kind of that prayer. And then I woke up like, oh boy, this is going to be a big day. Let's look at these trees. What are we into today? And then the trees are standing there, and I just felt, I don't know, a lot came over me. Because, I've spent 40 years of my life not ever seeing anything like this or whatever. And then the last few years of my life, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like what has changed, I'm seeking him, and he's like manifesting, and he's pouring out, and I'm living in that now. And this isn't me going to bed with faith, right? Like I have so much faith. I just knew he'd stand the tree. No, that wasn't that. It was, that's why I say at the beginning here, I'm not a Michael Pink. I'm not writing books. I'm not, I'm just saying, like, I'm not a pastor. I'm just a guy that out of desperation, I absolutely love the Lord. I am seeking him with all my heart and soul. Absolutely. But I asked a prayer out of desperation, and he answered it without question. And so when my friend showed up that day, I said, hey, those trees stood up. They're not on the roof anymore. And he's like, that's not possible, because I used to do this for a living. And, we talked about the whole don't set up over the tree and it'll throw you, whatever. But he goes, we've never left a job site and then come back the next day and then the trees are standing up. That's not how that works. You cut the tree and then the other ones come up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was pretty shocked. But I should say, when I stood there in that window and I had a real moment, it's really hard for me to put it into words, because it really was like a humble, I don't know why you're showing me this, and I don't know why you're doing this. It's really, I have so many questions and I don't know, but I am amazed. I'm in awe. I have so much reverence, but then I'm like, okay, no one is ever going to believe this. Like, Eric, you're losing your mind. So I had to go get my wife, wake her up. I woke the kids up. I'm like, you have to come see this.
Yeah.
And I walk her out because she knows it's tree time. Eric's going to go out cutting trees, hope he doesn't die. And she walks up to the window and she's like, what happened to the trees? As if they blew over or they fell down along the house. I'm like, that's them right out there. And she's like, those are the trees that were laying. I'm like, yes. So she's a witness to it. My kids are witnesses to it. And then my friend that came over the next day that was helping me cut the trees is a witness to it. So I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one here.
And I might add, because when you sent me the pictures, I thought, I gotta see this. And so basically, initially you sent me two pictures: the before when they're leaning against the house,
Yep.
and they're not just like leaning; they're on it. They're just their weight is on your house.
Yeah, the weight's on the house, right?
Right. And then the next picture, you showed me the after picture because you said that you had trimmed some of the tops, and they were the tops of the tree were accessible because it was leaning against your house or on your house, so you could kind of trim that. So when they're standing back up, I'm looking at the pictures and I see the tree tops are trimmed, which would have been impossible to do unless you either had some kind of a crane or a helicopter or unless it had actually been on your rooftop, which of course it had been.
Right.